If you're in a similar area of the internet to me, you've probably seen all this shit about raw milk. Like, I've seen a bunch of claims. Some people say that raw milk has enzymes that pasteurization would destroy. Pasteurization denatures protein. Pasteurization destroys vitamins. Raw milk boosts height and testosterone. Then you see some people say raw milk has zero benefit and it's just dangerous for you. And the opposite is pasteurized milk is dead and useless. And so basically, I'm sick of all of these claims. So I decided to actually look into it and figure out the truth of each of these claims. And so I'm going to explain them to you. So firstly, what pasteurization actually is, it originated to extend the shelf life of wine because they were shipping wine across France and basically it would expire by the time it got to the place where they wanted it. And so pathogens usually grew in the wine due to disgusting conditions, and the same thing is true with milk. You can see like these cows basically when pasteurization existed, what they wanted to do was they wanted to bring cows into the city so they didn't have to ship the milk across from the farms from like the rural areas. They wanted to bring them right close to the city, and so they were cramped up like this with really shit conditions. And so if the animal's unhealthy, obviously the milk's going to be unhealthy. But the reverse is also true. If the animal's healthy and the environment is healthy, you get healthy milk. And just really quickly, pasteurization, you see some like primal slop about it being like boiling, but it's not. It's like a brief like zap of heat exposure. So let's get into what's actually lost. So first of all is enzymes, and this is probably the most like valid of the claims. The main enzyme, the most useful one in my opinion, is alkaline phosphatase, which enables the body to absorb calcium and phosphorus that you ingest. So MBC is basically this Australian company made by Cal, and what they do is they use pressure to like rid the milk of bad bacteria, whatever that means, but they don't use heat treatment. And so as you can see, the alkaline phosphatase concentration is at 3.5 micrograms per milliliter for raw milk and this cold pressed milk, whereas the pasteurized and commercial milk is at maybe 0.1 to 0.2. So you can easily say this is 17 to 35 times as abundant in these raw milk and made by cow milk. So there's clearly a benefit. And so obviously that means you can absorb more calcium and phosphorus that you ingest, which means your body can use it better, which means you can build your bones better and other things. Like, for example, supplementation with alkaline phosphatase fixed ulcers, allergies, gastrointestinal issues, gum disease, asthma, and gout. And there was also this study where they gave people intestinal alkaline phosphatase, so stuff that gets down to your intestine. And it said it may represent a therapy to counteract chronic inflammation leading to frailty and age related diseases. So it can literally prevent aging through strengthening your gut bacteria, which is pretty good. Nextly, these are just some other enzymes that are useful. Plasmin dissolves blood clots, heals wounds, aids the immune system. Lactoperoxidase, it forms antimicrobial complex, fights infections. Bacterial growth catalase, it's quite good. It reduces oxidative damage in your cells by getting rid of hydrogen peroxide. You get antibodies in the milk, which have immune benefit, but there's no like magic enzyme for testosterone because I've heard those claims. And as you can see, there are a bunch of other enzymes which do pretty similar things that and have a few other benefits, but these are like the most interesting ones that I pulled out. And so yeah, next is protein. So it does technically denature proteins found in milk, but the consensus is a bit vague as to what actually happens with it. Some people say that there's a loss of bioavailability and enzymatic activity. So basically, bioavailability means how well your body can use it. So there are some arguments that when it's damaged through this high pressure, this high heat, your body can't use it as well. But other studies say that it just becomes to its digested state, so you can digest it easier. So that one's like still under consensus. So these are some different proteins that also have enzymatic activity, like lactase is a protein and an enzyme, aids in digesting lactose. From personal experience, I have a friend who, whenever he drinks like pasteurized milk, he gets like a sore tummy, but if he can drink raw milk and he feels completely fine. So I know that's just an anecdote, but that's something to keep in mind. And lactoferrin, which starves off pathogens, so it essentially helps your immune system. And so with regards to IGF-1, which is growth, because a lot of people talk about IGF-1 being in raw milk, there is IGF-1 in raw milk that is very similar to human IGF-1, so it can bind to your receptors, triggering a growth response. But in terms of raw milk getting you to produce your own IGF-1, it's more of a vague link. Like dietary protein is more associated with IGF-1, which means obviously milk has dietary protein, but it's more about getting quality protein, which is not exclusive to raw milk. Like if you eat steak, eggs, etc., you can still get IGF-1, but there is trace amounts of IGF-1 in milk, but I'm pretty sure goat's milk has 3 times the concentration. So if you're looking for IGF-1, goat's milk, or you can go for colostrum, which is essentially the milk that the animal produces for when the baby's just growing, like the first 1 or 2 weeks of the pregnancy. So it has a bunch of IGF-1, a bunch of growth factor, which can give you extra growth. IGF-1 is insulin growth factor 1, in case you didn't know. It's one of the main things responsible for your bone growth. So yeah, all of this is in relation to growth. Next, you have fatty acids. Now, the main thing to point out is fatty acids are actually more destroyed from homogenization, which is not pasteurization. So homogenization is when they mix the fat in with the rest of the milk, so it all becomes homogeneous, it all becomes the exact same concentration of fat. So you may see milk in the supermarket which says non-homogenized, which has like a little layer of like fat or cream on the top. And so if you can't get raw milk, non-homogenized milk is the next best choice. So basically what happens, the fat in milk is made in these little globules. So that's how the fat is distributed within the milk. And so when you homogenize it, you basically damage the milk fat globule membrane, the MFGM, which alters the structure. And the altered structure reduces your body's ability to absorb it. And you can see all the benefits of MFGM: brain development, cognitive function, skeletal and muscle frailty, cardiometabolic health, gastrointestinal and immune health. So all of these benefits do get reduced when it's homogenized. And yeah, this study over here shows, yeah, pasteurization disrupts the structural integrity of the milk fat globule membrane. Damage to the MFGM may reduce lipid protection. So like your body's, the fat that you ingest, its protection against oxidation and alter fat digestibility. So lipid is just a fancy word for fat. So basically what happens is the lipids that you ingest won't be as good at protecting against oxidative damage and fat digestibility. So brightness has just gone down. There we go. All right. Next we have vitamins. So people will say that all the vitamins are destroyed in pasteurized milk. This is mostly untrue. Basically, there are water-soluble vitamins and fat-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins are vitamins A, D, E, and K2. These are largely stable. The water-soluble vitamins, which is vitamin C and all the B vitamins, it's usually about a 10% decrease on average, and you can pause and read what these all do. But yeah, it's not a significant decrease. Like sure, raw milk will have better vitamins, but it's not significant, really. Okay, so now we get to the height and testosterone claims. So raw milk doesn't explicitly cause height growth. There's not like some magical formula, but it does contain all the ingredients for optimal bone health, which is calcium, vitamin D, and protein. Like again, you could find those in other things, but they are found in raw milk, which is good for growth. It also contains IGF-1, which is identical to human structure. Like I said, it can bind to receptors, which can increase, like I said, muscle growth, bone health, metabolism, tissue repair. Also, I don't know if you've heard of whey protein. It's like the protein that's in milk as well as casein proteins, as well as BCAAs, which is branched chain amino acids. These also contribute to IGF-1 production, and these are also all found in milk. And similarly for testosterone, it contains cholesterol, which is a precursor to test. I'll make another video on cholesterol. But yeah, your body makes testosterone out of cholesterol, so it's crucial you have cholesterol. It contains vitamin D again, which aids in your testosterone production. But the vitamin D and the cholesterol is true of pasteurized milk as well. There is something to say that the cholesterol is part of the milk fat globule membrane, so maybe its absorption wouldn't be as good. And yeah, same for the calcium, vitamin D, and protein. But the IGF-1 loses effectiveness in pasteurization and gets destroyed. So there are some benefits here, but it's not that clear cut. So next, we're just going to touch on the safety issues, because a lot of people say that raw milk is stupid and you're going to get like salmonella poisoning. So just listen to these statistics, bear with me. So 3.2% of the US population, so more than 10 million people, consume raw milk as of 2014. Average of 761 people get sick per year, with 22 cases requiring hospitalization and 0 deaths. So that means 761 people divided by 10 million. So that's a 0.007% risk of getting something as mild as a stomach ache, because that's just get sick. And then 22 divided by 10 million, which is 1 in 500,000 or 0.0002% chance of needing to visit a hospital. Like those odds are so infinitesimally small. And the crazy thing is if you compare it with leafy greens actually sicken more people than raw milk. Not just in total, because obviously more people eat leafy greens, but relative as well. So leafy greens, you can see by this graph, they cause 9.8% of foodborne illness in the US. So an estimated 2.3 million people affected. So even if we assume the entire United States ate leafy greens, to give it the biggest possible denominator, to give it the smallest possible percentage we can, to make it completely fair, all 333 million, even still, at the time of this data collection, if we divide 2.3 by 333, we still get a rate of illness at 0.69%. So 0.69% leafy green consumers get sick from them. 0.007% raw milk consumers get sick from raw milk. So it's literally 100 times more likely to get you sick. Or 99 times, technically. If that's not significant to you, I don't know what is. You don't see stores banning lettuce and banning kale, right? Which because clearly they're not actually looking out for your health. Clearly, I ain't trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but like, come on, like the facts don't lie. There's like zero regulation on leafy greens, but yet at least where I come from in Australia, it's impossible to find raw milk. But yeah, you can see this graph. Like this is not insignificant. And also, you can find alcohol in cigarettes, which have literally been linked to every single disease ever. And unlike raw milk, which has a 0.007%, I would almost guarantee that I'm making the numbers off the top of my head, but I'd assume that 90% plus alcohol and cigarette users get some sort of damage from them, some sort of cancer. But yet you can buy them from any store pretty much. You can walk 5 minutes in any direction from a train station and you can find alcohol and cigarettes. But yet raw milk, again in Australia, and if the government's watching this, I don't drink raw milk, and I don't recommend anyone in Australia to break the law. Um, but yeah, if you can find this within 5 minutes, but you can't find raw milk, you have to wonder, like, is it really safety they're looking after? And lastly, some anecdotes. If you've heard of Erling Haaland, he's a footballer. He's like this Norwegian guy. He swears by it. He calls it a superfood. The Maasai tribe, it's a tribe in Africa. They live for generations on predominantly raw milk, and they'll mix it with blood. And then the Mundari tribe, they're from South Sudan. They can go for months without any food. Like they'll literally go for several months in between stops to different villages with only drinking milk from their cows because they'll go on long like walks with their cows, and their average height is 6'5", which is 195 centimeters. So if you think that these people in any way are like unhealthy because they don't even eat food for months, all they have is raw milk. It's like, bro, they're 6'5" on average. Like you can argue, okay, genetics, fine, but where did the genetics come from? Genetics is just the nutrition of your ancestors. And you see here, they're often described as the tallest people on Earth, and their height is attributed to a combination of genetics. We talked about that, and a diet primarily based on raw milk and dairy products, and a lifestyle. A lifestyle centered around cattle herding, that doesn't make you tall. That's a stupid point. So really, it's genetics and raw milk and dairy. And genetics is ancestors consuming raw milk and dairy, right? And I know this is Google AI, but come on, like, I'm sure you can put some faith in this. So, yeah, clearly it's not that bad for you. One hidden advantage of raw milk as well is oftentimes you can know the lifestyle. Like it will say organic diet, it will say they're pasture fed. Like they're not like these depressed, oppressed cows. They're more like living like this, right? Normal light rhythm, grazing time on the grass. Having control on these factors ensures like the cows are not stressing. The cows have low cortisol, which believe it or not, that actually impacts the cortisol quality of the milk, which then impacts your own health when you drink it. And it also gives it a healthier fat profile if the cows are healthy. And yeah, you are what you eat, obviously. But again, you can probably get this advantage from organic pasteurized milk. But if you're paying the premium prices, you might as well just get the raw milk. Again, don't break the law in Australia. Don't sue me, government. I don't drink it. Right? So, is raw milk worth it? I would say yes. Provided it's from a good source and you can verify the source, the pros far outweigh the cons. However, it's not some magic evolutionary ascension potion. It won't make you like some dramatic transformation. If you see somebody said, oh yeah, I just drank raw milk, bro, unless it was from age 12, it's largely a lie and they're probably trying to sell you something. It's mostly good for your health indicators, fat soluble vitamins, good for aging, like we saw, has some benefits for high growth if you're still growing, and it's got good vitamins. But don't expect anything transformation that's, within reason. You'll look a little bit better perhaps depending on your age, but it won't do any great miracles. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. If this video was helpful, I appreciate you watching. Give it a like, and yeah, I'll make some more videos in the future about the primal diet and if it's beneficial.